Think about the last time you got into an argument. You shouted, you gave logic, you provided facts, and yet, the other person didn't budge. Why? Because when you argue, you attack a person's ego. And when the ego is attacked, it builds a fortress. Niccolò Machiavelli, the master of power, understood something most men don't: logic doesn't control people, identity does. While the average man tries to win an argument, the sovereign man frames the identity. He doesn't tell you what to do, he tells you who you are, and then watches you act in accordance with that label. Today, we're revealing the identity framing tactic, a psychological weapon that stops conflict in its tracks and gives you total control without ever raising your voice. Niccolò Machiavelli taught centuries ago that for a ruler, it is not necessary to actually possess all the virtues, but it is absolutely vital to appear to possess them. This first rule of identity framing targets the most vulnerable part of human nature, the ego. When you assign someone a golden label or a high-status identity, they become psychologically trapped. They are forced to act in accordance with that label because the alternative, violating their own self-image, is too painful for the ego to handle. This is the virtue trap. In the professional and social world of the West, people are obsessed with how they are perceived. Instead of arguing with a difficult person or pointing out their flaws, which only makes them more defensive, you place them in a positive frame. For example, if you are dealing with someone who is blocking your progress, you don't call them out. Instead, you say, "I've always respected your reputation for being fair and making objective decisions, even when it's a tough call." By doing this, you have labeled them as fair and objective. If they continue to be difficult, they are forced to prove that they are actually unfair and biased, a label their ego cannot accept. You haven't won an argument through logic, you've won through psychological architecture. They will now bend their behavior to match the high-value identity you just gave them. This is the quiet weapon of the sovereign man. You don't fight people, you simply define who they are in your world, and let their own pride do the work for you. The core of Machiavelli's tactical wisdom lies in the ability to be both the lion and the fox. While the lion can scare away wolves, only the fox can recognize the traps before they snap shut. In the world of high-level social dynamics, this means mastering the art of deceptive vulnerability. Most men make the fatal mistake of trying to be the smartest person in the room. They brag, they show off their intellect, and they try to dominate every conversation. But when you lead with your ego, you force others to build mental walls against you. They become insecure, defensive, and suspicious of your motives. The innocent fox tactic flips this on its head by framing you as harmless, an observer, or even a humble student. When you present yourself in this frame, people naturally drop their guard. They stop viewing you as a threat and begin to reveal their true intentions, their secrets, and their weaknesses. In the high-stakes corporate and social circles of the United States, this is often called the Columbo method. By appearing slightly less informed or more simple than you actually are, you feed the other person's ego. You let them feel superior, and in their overconfidence, they become careless. While they are busy enjoying their dominance, you are silently mapping out the entire psychological landscape. You aren't just hearing their words, you are decoding their subtext and identifying their price tag. This strategy is incredibly lethal because it allows you to exert total control without ever triggering an alarm. By the time you make your move, it's already too late for them to react. You have won the war before they even realized a battle was taking place. Never forget, the world is always deceived by the man who looks the most harmless, because it's the shadow you don't see coming that always delivers the final strike. Pillar 3 is centered around the concept of prognostic framing, a high-level Machiavellian tactic where you align your personal goals with the target's ideal future identity. In The Prince, Machiavelli explains that a wise ruler doesn't just demand loyalty, he makes the people believe that their own prosperity is tied directly to his success. In modern social dynamics, this means you stop giving commands and start painting a vision where the other person is the hero. Most men fail because they lead with their own needs, they ask for favors, they demand respect, or they beg for attention. But the sovereign man understands that people will work 10 times harder for a vision of themselves than they ever will for you. By framing a task or a relationship as a stepping stone to their future king self, you bypass their resistance and tap into their deepest ambitions. In the fast-paced and individualistic culture of the USA, this approach is incredibly effective because everyone is looking for a way to level up. If you want a team member or even a partner to change their behavior, you don't argue about their current shortcomings. Instead, you frame the change as something a person of their higher caliber would naturally do. For example, you might say, "A man with your level of drive and ambition usually masters this kind of pressure effortlessly. I can already see you leading this entire department in a year." You aren't just giving them a task, you are offering them a new identity to step into. They will now strive to meet those expectations not because you told them to, but because they want to prove that they are the high-status individual you've described. You become the architect of their reality, guiding their actions by simply defining the path to their own greatness. By the time they achieve the goal, they feel a sense of accomplishment, while you have successfully navigated the situation to your ultimate advantage without ever breaking a sweat. The final and most critical stage of Machiavellian framing is the ability to maintain frame dominance, which essentially means you must never allow yourself to be defined by someone else's labels. In social and professional hierarchies, people will constantly try to pull you into their reality by testing you with negative frames. They might call you difficult, aggressive, or arrogant. Most men fail this test instantly by becoming defensive. The moment you start explaining why you aren't what they said, you have surrendered your sovereignty and accepted their courtroom. You are now a defendant pleading for a "not guilty" verdict from someone who has no authority over you. Machiavelli understood that the person who defines the terms of the engagement is the one who ultimately holds the power. To break a frame, you don't defend, you reframe the entire narrative with absolute indifference to their original bait. In the highly competitive social landscape of the West, this is the ultimate price tag move because it shows you are psychologically unshakable. If a colleague or a date attempts to frame your high standards as being too picky or stubborn, you don't argue for your flexibility. Instead, you flip the script by saying, "I'm precise about what I want because I value the quality of my time and the people I spend it with." With one sentence, you have taken their negative label and transformed it into a high-status trait of selective excellence. You are effectively telling them that your world has a high barrier to entry, and if they want to be a part of it, they have to meet your price. This level of emotional detachment forces the other person to realize that they cannot manipulate your self-perception. By refusing to play by their rules, you force them to play by yours. You aren't just winning a social interaction, you are establishing yourself as the architect of the environment. When you master the power to reject and redefine the frames others place. Most men spend their entire lives fighting battles they can't win because they are fighting with the wrong weapons. They use logic, they use anger, and they use desperation, while the master uses frames. Remember, the world doesn't treat you based on your hard work or your good intentions, it treats you based on the identity you project and the boundaries you enforce. By mastering the art of identity framing, you stop being a pawn in other people's games and you start becoming the architect of your own reality. You don't need to shout to be heard, and you don't need to argue to be right. You simply define the world, and let everyone else find their place within it. If you are ready to stop reacting to the world and start ruling it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We are building a tribe of men who understand the deep mechanics of power and psychology. If you've made it this far, it means you're different from the 99%. Prove it by commenting, "The Architect," below to let me know you've claimed your sovereignty. Study the laws, master the fox's wisdom, and I will see you in the next one. Stay sovereign.